In 2020, being straight edge, or not drinking, doing drugs and all that, is quite common. The world has evolved, which is definitely for the best, and if you don't want to partake in that stuff, then good for you. We should all be able to live our own lives. With that said, this certainly hasn't always been the case, especially in the world of wrestling. A huge part of the backstage culture used to be having your match and then going out and getting wrecked, so if you didn't do that, it was used against you. How mad is that? You had to be a political savant to wade through those waters, and it blows your mind when you think about it. You could be the best in-ring technician and promo in the land, but because you don't want a beer, you can go and kiss somebody's ass? You tell me. Let's celebrate the dudes that have stuck to their guns though, because I'm Simon Miller, this is What Culture Wrestling, and also 10 wrestlers who are totally straight edge. Number 10, Matt Cross. Matt Cross has been destroying the indie scene for years. A guy who many believe still hasn't had his due. He was ahead of the game in many ways with his in-ring style, and stints in Ring of Honor and Lucha Underground just added more evidence to that fact. He flies around like he was born to live in the clouds. Matt is also straight edge, which is why his name is Cross, as that's the sign often used to let others know that you are indeed living such a lifestyle. Growing up a fan of punk music, it was when he would go out partying and refuse booze that he learned about the term, as others would ask him, "Hey, are you living a straight edge lifestyle?" Turns out he was. Cross has always made it clear he doesn't judge those that do drink, which is kind of proved in the sense he's friends with one Stone Cold Steve Austin. Happening after he was cast in the 2011 Tough Enough, the Rattlesnake called him after the show ended with words of advice, and they have been telephone buddies ever since. What a lovely story. Number 9, Sammy Guevara. Wrestling since he was 19 years of age, Sammy Guevara made a name for himself on the indie scene by doing nut stuff like 630 splashes. If you've never seen that, go and YouTube it right now. It doesn't make any sense, like watching a cartoon. Whilst doing one of his YouTube vlogs, it was also revealed that he is straight-edged. Brought about when he saw the negative effects drink and drugs did to his friends, he's yet another guy that goes out of his way to preach each to their own. It's just not for him. If you want some on-screen evidence of this, just go and watch Sammy and his buddy Chris Jericho during Inner Circle skits. When a little bit of the bubbler is being sprayed around the place, Guevara never actually drinks any, for all the reasons we just laid out. It's not his bag. Number 8, Darby Allin. Darby Allin took his AEW opportunity and he ran with it. Or skated with it, either is fine. When he appeared on the company's Unrestricted podcast though, he talked about the fact that despite being a madman when it comes to risks, he too is straight edge. In his own words, he has seen friends and family jump into that world and have nothing to show for it, which isn't something he fancied. Describing it as a window into how to waste your life, Allin also doesn't want to have it as a crutch, meaning if he doesn't succeed, he can't blame it on the fact he was too busy getting drunk. He lives and dies by his own actions. Going as far to say he doesn't even take aspirin, there was an incident at a house show last year when a fan threw a beer at Darby. Annoying him so much he confronted the guy. Allin even tweeted after that you don't throw beer at a straight-edged man. I mean, don't throw beer at anyone unless they're looking at you, screaming, "Please, please throw a beer at me." But yeah, I'd take his point. Number 7, Cesaro. Cesaro is flippin' awesome. Putting aside the opportunities he should or shouldn't get, I dare anyone to name me someone who is as good in the ring as him. He's untouchable in many ways, and during an episode of WWE Ride Along where he was driving with Seth Rollins, the Swiss Superman opened up about how he doesn't like a drink. We have more evidence for this one as well. When then Raw General Manager Mick Foley made Sheamus and Cesaro a tag team after a feud, WWE had a segment where the pair cemented the deal in a bar with a pint of Guinness. As the Irish Curse told the Edge and Christian podcast, it was a terrible scene as Cesaro didn't want to drink it, and after tasting some, Sheamus thought it was disgusting and didn't want to take any either. So you have two dudes looking at it hoping to do anything else but throw it down their necks. Good start. As we're talking about a further bald guy as well, I too don't drink in case you care. I got drunk once when I was 18 and hated it so much, I never touched the stuff again. So now you know. Number 6, the Viking Raiders. Eric and Ivar, or whatever we're calling them nowadays, have been tagging since 2014. Since then, they've pretty much smashed it wherever they've gone, but probably don't tell Vince McMahon that yes, they are both straight edge. Given that he turned them into Vikings who are all about drinking as much booze as possible, well, he may not get it, or may use that as a reason to make them start. It could also be why the pair and the Street Profits never did a drinking contest when they were having that series of challenges against each other. I mean, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins carry red cups around, which we're meant to assume is full of alcohol as if they're gonna party all the time. Wouldn't be overly nice to book a segment though, where 2 out of the 4 would rather have a Coke than a Budweiser. Suppose you could just switch it out for pop. Who's gonna know? Number 5, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is one of the best in-ring performers ever. I don't care what anyone says about his use in AEW, whatever. When it comes to wrestling, he is flippin' amazing. He moves so damn fast, and is also another guy who doesn't drink and doesn't do drugs. He tweeted this in 2016 just so everybody knew the deal. It's why All Elite Wrestling have started to use that as a cool twist as he slowly falls out with tag team partner Hangman Page, who of course is the total opposite. He even went and relaxed for a while during the Stadium Stampede, just so he could down a few cold ones. The internet, of course, has found ways to try and disprove this, as many people pointed to the fact that when Kenny used to do post-match interviews in New Japan, there was some alcohol in front of him. Well, my friend, that is just a sponsorship. The NJPW ring even has a Coors Light logo on it, so it's just a way to make some money. Number 4, the Young Bucks. Are the Young Bucks the best tag team in the world? They've got to be close even if you don't agree, and they've gone out of their way to bring tag team wrestling back to the forefront. For that, they deserve all the praise. Much like their friend Kenny Omega, though, they do not drink. We saw yet more story teasers at this when Matt Jackson tried to chat to the Cowboy again about alcohol-fueled nights, and if you want to complete the lineup when it comes to the Elite, Cody Rhodes does indeed partake. Matt once even called a Dick fan on Twitter a prick after he sent a very rude message about his physique, and Gallows and Anderson, so have got to be the king of drinkers, also confirmed that the Bucks don't drink alcohol, but they're still good brothers. Number 3, Jerry Lawler. The King has said many times during interviews that he has never drunk or done drugs in his life, and it's what he thinks is responsible for his youthful looks and longevity. Maybe he's right. The abstinence was even brought up in a storyline in 1996 where Jerry used to mock Jake Roberts, who was definitely not living the same lifestyle, and the only real shame is that Lawler's son Bryan Christopher didn't follow suit. He had a terrible time with drugs and alcohol that cost him his job and even his life when he passed away in 2018. Weirdly, the King does have a beer named after him that he sells in his own restaurant. Again though, he's never tried it, which he happily revealed in some interviews. Hopefully it doesn't taste terrible. Number 2, Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is one of the nicest and most environmentally conscious people in the world. Not only does he refrain from drinking and doing drugs, he's also a vegan, is trying to save the planet, and goes out of his way to protect animals. What a dude. If you tuned in to SmackDown in 2019 too, you will know this is what his character became, although there Bryan turned the volume up so much he became preachy, and nobody likes a preachy asshole, hence why he was booed even though what he was doing was right. During that time, Daniel even yelled at Vince McMahon for putting profits over both people and the earth. It's quite the way to go all in with this. There's a big reason for this as well. In his autobiography, Bryan admitted this all started after his father's own troubles with alcohol. And sure, if you watch Total Bellas, it sometimes looks like Daniel is having a glass of wine, but spoiler, it's non-alcoholic. Number 1, CM Punk. The most well-known straight-edge wrestler there is, CM Punk built his entire character around it and gained a bunch of followers in the process. He was a hero and inspiration to all. Punk was also so good with a microphone in his hand that he was able to use this to his advantage, whether heel or face. If he was a good guy, it was used as a way to help others, and if he was a bad guy, it was the perfect way for CM to look right down the camera lens and say he was better than you. Given the state of wrestling when he was working the independents, many wrestlers thought he was making this up until he kept saying no, no, and then no again. Even if he was going to come back to wrestling today, you can bet we'd work this in again because it's just so tied up in his whole gimmick. But good for CM Punk, he knew what he wanted, and he never fell off the path. Know of any other wrestlers that are straight edge? Make sure you let us know in the comments below, including you if you're straight edge, and then like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then please head over to whatculture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and watch more videos here on a What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture. I love talking to your asses. Not literally, that would be weird, but I'll definitely talk to them again soon.